Yesterday, we reported to you that Donald Trump Jr. Had a meeting with a lawyer that was connected to the Kremlin, and he did something strange. He kind of admitted that he was looking for information about Hillary Clinton's campaign. But if you're getting it from a foreign source, that might be illegal, and especially if it's stolen, that would be a different crime and open yourself up to a lot of issues. But today, we found out what those contacts actually were. And that's because Donald Trump Jr. himself released those emails. Whoa, that's really interesting. He said to everyone, in order to be totally transparent, I'm releasing the entire email chain of my emails. So, well, you might look at that and go, well, I guess he's got nothing to hide. You'd be wrong, because it turns out he shouldn't have released these emails. Now, he didn't do it voluntarily. Right now, the Trump administration is all over TV going, he's totally transparent. Did it on just out of the goodness of his heart. No, the New York Times already had the emails. They were already printing a story about it, and they said, look, here's what your emails say. Is it true or not true? This is after he first denied that he ever had the meeting. Then the second line was, it was just about adoption. And then when he found out, shoot, they know what the meeting was about. He's like, fine, I was trying to get dirt on Hillary Clinton, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's not true, there is something wrong with that. Now, finally, he's like, all right, here's the emails. Now, remember yesterday he tweeted out, obviously, I'm the first person on a campaign to ever take a meeting to hear info about an opponent. Went nowhere, but had to listen. See, you schmuck, you're not supposed to admit that. Yes, you can go and try to get opposition research on people. Of course, that's a normal part of a campaign, but not from a foreign source. And on top of that, one that how else would they have gotten it but stealing it? So, and it is not normal procedure. For example, Al Gore's team in 2000 got mailed a tape of George Bush's practice for the debates. They had the whole thing, and they could have looked at it. I mean, that's beautiful opposition research, and prepared better for the debate. Well, they didn't, because they thought this must be stolen, so they turned it over to the FBI. That's how you're supposed to deal with stolen material, or things that you reasonably believe could have been stolen. Instead, fools rush in, or in this case, fools Russian. Anyway, he's like, you got good stuff from the Russians? All right, let's do it. Hey, don't take my word for it. I'm about to read you his emails. Okay, so the guy who's the intermediary here is a guy named Rob Goldstone. He lives in the UK. He helped with a Miss Universe pageant, and he hooked up Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. with some of his Russian contacts before, and that is exactly who he's going to refer to here. It is a family that's very well connected in Russia. The son is the pop singer, and then the dad in that family is a real estate mogul. So the son's name is Emin Agalarov, and then his dad's name is Aras, I believe. So that's your context for these emails. So Goldstone emails Donald Trump Jr. and says, Emin, the pop star guy, the younger guy, just called and asked me to contact you with something very interesting. The Crown Prosecutor of Russia met with his father, Aras, there it is, this morning, and their meeting offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. Now, Rob Goldstone, also a clown, of course, he deals with the Trump family, so there is no such thing as the Crown Prosecutor of Russia. There is a title that's similar to that in the UK, that's why he assumed that that's what it was called in Russia. It's not called that, but that is not relevant. What he's saying to Donald Trump Jr. is, I've got the top prosecutor in Russia who's going to give you official documents that the Russians have. Any person that has any sense, I mean, let's put aside morality for a second, and also doesn't want to break the law, would immediately go, wait, I am not going to take information from the Russians on my opponent that is potentially very illegal and obviously not the right thing to do. Let me go turn this in. Don goes, that sounds great. Okay, so hold for that. Goldstone further clarifies, this would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump. Now, I know there's still some out there who are like, There's no evidence that it was connected to Russia, except for the fact that he just said, it is connected to Russia and it's to help your father. But hold, let's be fair to Donald Trump Jr. Those are just emails he received. What did he reply back? Quote, if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. Oops, there you go. So here is Donald Trump Jr. saying, if you have official documents from the Russians, I would like to collude with you, and it is to help with my father's campaign, as you wrote in the email. If it is as you say in the email, I would love it. Does it have to get any clearer? Like if they were trying to frame themselves, they couldn't have made it any clearer. Right? What did I tell you as to why the whole Trump clan was going to get caught? Because they're too stupid to do a cover-up. I mean, who writes emails like this? Like, would you like to meet with the Russians and take their documents, God knows where they got them, and use it against Hillary Clinton to help your father? Well, yes, I would. Okay, now whether that collusion is illegal is a question we're going to get to in a second, but it is collusion. There is no question about that. So Goldstone also wrote in one of the emails, Don, hope all is well with Emin, the guy we were talking about before. Emin asked that I schedule a meeting with you and the Russian government attorney who's flying over from Moscow for this Thursday. I believe you are aware of this meeting and so wondered if 3 p.m. or later on Thursday works for you. I mean, you can't write it up any better. Remember, Don, it's a Russian government lawyer and I know you are aware of this meeting. And of course, Trump Jr. responds, yes, but can we make it 4 o'clock? Jesus, man. So now they're saying, oh, maybe the Democrats set us up. So let me get this right. The Democrats are playing 3-dimensional chess so that they would lose the election? Well, knowing the Democrats, maybe they are. Okay, only the Democrats would do that. But even so, if they were, hey, you schmuck, don't say yes, I would love to do something illegal. So is it illegal? Well, Richard Painter, former ethics lawyer for George W. Bush, said if he intended to get illegally stolen private information from the Russians, it was illegal for him to attempt to do so, just like buying stolen goods from a known fence. Now, in this case, his main defense, which is not a defense at all, is, well, I thought it was a Russian government lawyer and I thought they were going to give me really good opposition research on my opponent and help meddle in this election. But as it turned out, they didn't have really good information for me, so I was annoyed at the meeting because it turns out she just wanted to talk about policy. And we weren't talking about policy at that point. That didn't make it any better, it might have made it worse, right? Say, no, I was only interested in like the incriminating stuff. Policy, I wasn't there for a policy meeting. Okay, so now will they be able to prove in court that he had the intent to receive stolen goods, and that he involved Jared Kushner, who was also at the meeting, and Paul Manafort, who was the campaign manager for Trump at that time, and whether you could prove all 3 of them had the intent to receive stolen goods? That's a good open question. We'll see you in court and try to figure it out. You know what comes before court though? Handcuffs. Anyway, now there's a second legal problem that he has with this. Rick Hassan, who's an election law expert, says there's 2 big questions on whether he broke campaign finance laws. Are knowledge, it was that it was a foreign source, and they explain now credible if last night's New York Times story is correct, as well as if the information being provided counts as anything of value for purposes of the law. So let me explain that. So did he know that it was a foreign source? Now there's no question because he himself has admitted, yes, these are the emails, I knew that it was a Russian foreign source. So check on the first part of the test. The second part of the test is not whether the incriminating information that he received was great and was used against Hillary Clinton. No, the question is it anything of value, meaning is it worth anything? Does it have monetary value, okay? So, well, again, even if you weren't clear on where the source is, again, the email from Goldstone said, this is obviously very high level sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support of Mr. Trump. And of course, Donald Trump Jr. famously replied, I love it, to that email. Now, on to whether just giving information has monetary value? Well, it depends on the kind of information. If you could Google it on your own, no, that has no monetary value. But if it is other kinds of information, we already have rulings on that. There's a 1990 ruling by the Federal Election Commission, and it reads like this, and I'll read it to you and then I'll explain. They explain that in that case, if, however, Mr. Hochberg imparts poll result information to you or anyone else working for your campaign, including any data or any analysis of the results, or if he uses the poll information to advise your campaign on matters such as campaign strategy or creating media messages, such poll information will constitute an in-kind contribution from Mr. Hochberg to your campaign and an expenditure in an equal amount by your committee. Meaning, look, he spent money on that poll. If he gives you the information from that poll that he spent money on, that is a contribution to your campaign. So if in this particular case, if the Russians were going to give you information and you thought they were going to give you information that they spent money acquiring, and presumably they would have had to spend some sort of money, either bribing someone on the inside or paying hackers, etc. Well, then you got information that has value and you have broken a campaign finance law. So look, you might look at all that and say, when you go to court, you got a good case, but you're really gonna have to lay out here intent and what Trump knew and didn't know. But boy, did he help your case by releasing the emails and admitting himself that yes, I went to go meet with people I thought were Russian officials to get stuff that would help our campaign, but as it turns out, I couldn't finish the criminal act. He didn't say it in that last part, he didn't say in so many words, so I just want to be clear about that. But it turns out you don't need to finish it for it to be a criminal act. Anyway, I am very much looking forward to a judge sorting this out. If you like this video, you'll love the whole TYT network. Check it out at tytnetwork.com/join.